Hello and good morning. My name's Amanda. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator here at the Missouri Poison Center. And with me today is Jen. She is one of our pharmacists and specialists in poison information. She answers calls from people of all ages, all times of day, I would say. You work a lot of different shifts. So welcome. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. We're going to talk mostly today about back to school. I know that my own kiddos are back in school for over 2 weeks now, and so it certainly has started. And there are things in our schools and our school routines that we can see as poison. So we're going to talk about that, and I'll let Jen go ahead and get started.
Okay, thanks, Amanda. Hi, as Amanda said, my name is Jen. I'm a pharmacist and specialist in poison information at the Missouri Poison Center. Let's get started with school supplies. Most back to school lists include basics like pens, pencils, markers, glue sticks, art products, various things like that. And they are some of the most common exposures that poison centers see from schools. So some examples could be that maybe like the little ones, the kindergartners paint their tongue with watercolor paint, or they suck on a marker. Or you might have like a second grader eating a glue stick or using it like chapstick. And then, the older kids, it can be, chewing on a pen that then breaks or explodes in their mouth and they get ink ingestion. Good news is most of these supplies are considered non-toxic or low risk and would only cause minor symptoms following an exposure. But if you suspect that a student has had an exposure to one of the school supplies and you'd like additional information, please contact us at the Poison Helpline at 1-800-222-1222. So next up, let's talk about lunch boxes. So they've come a long way from the hard metal boxes of yesteryear when I was a child. Today they can be canvas, plastic, recycled, insulated, any color, any shape, size, character, or print. So to keep your students safe, it's important to follow good lunchbox safety tips, such as washing hands thoroughly for at least 20 seconds with soap and water before preparing the lunchbox and eating the lunch. So we want to keep the student's lunchbox clean and free from unwanted bacteria by washing it regularly with soap and water. And we also want to make sure we're keeping cold foods such as lunch meat sandwiches and yogurt. We want to keep that at the proper temperature with a chilled freezer pack. These cold items are only safe at room temperature for about 2 hours. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA, recommends using at least 2 freezer packs to make sure that food stays adequately chilled. On the flip side, we want to make sure hot foods like soup or mac and cheese stay hot by sending them in tightly sealed, insulated thermoses or containers. When these kiddos are getting home, we want to make sure we're throwing away leftovers, such as uneaten halves of sandwiches or unfinished soup, as it likely didn't maintain proper temperature until the end of the school day. Many new lunch boxes, as well as book bags and shoe boxes, contain those small desiccant packets. Those are called silica gel packets. They're meant to absorb moisture and keep things dry prior to purchase. Silica gel is non-toxic, so it will not make your child sick. However, it can be a choking hazard, so don't forget to remove those from newly purchased items. Next up, let's talk about hand sanitizer. Over the last few years, the Missouri Poison Center has seen an increase in hand sanitizer calls by about 75%, with ages 0 to 5 being the biggest culprits. Classrooms often have those large pump bottles of hand sanitizer, and then kiddos' backpacks tend to have those small travel size hand sanitizers kind of clipped on as an attachment. It's important to make sure that kids are taught the proper use of these products because they do contain alcohol and they can be very irritating if used improperly. We also want to watch out for eyes. Sometimes with those large pump bottles, you see kind of that build up where it gets really thick and builds up. And then when you go to squirt it, it's going to squirt in a different direction. And that can hit kiddos in the eyes. You can also see kiddos trying to apply it to their hand, but then touch their face or their eyes before it's dry. And that can be really irritating and burn the eyes. So, if we see some type of ocular exposure, we want to make sure we flush their eyes immediately and then call us here at the Poison Center. It's also probably best to avoid having the really young children carry or keep small bottles on their backpacks. Just increases the chance that they're going to try to drink it or, like we said earlier, get it in their eyes. And then just make sure they know that to safely use it, put a little bit on their hands, rub their hands together until it feels dry, usually about 20 seconds. Next up is cleaning supplies. So schools use various cleaners, disinfectant sprays, the disinfectant wipes, many other types of surface and air cleaners and sanitizers. Natural curiosity of children leads to the chances that a child's going to come into contact with these chemicals. Some scenarios could include licking surfaces or placing hands or objects in their mouth after they've had these disinfectants or sanitizers on them, breathing in vapors or fumes, or rubbing eyes after touching treated surfaces that haven't dried. We want to make sure we're storing these cleaning products and chemicals up, away, out of sight of children, and it's always best to store them in their original containers. It's never advised to mix cleaning chemicals, as some mixtures such as bleach and ammonia or bleach and vinegar can create a toxic fume or gas that can be problematic. It's also always best to read and follow label instructions regarding usage, safe storage, and disposal of these cleaning products, just to make sure that everything is done safely. All right, next up, medication. So medications at school, approximately 6% of all elementary and high school students receive medication while in school for conditions such as asthma, epilepsy, depression, diabetes, autism, allergies, ADHD, among others. Even if a student does not have one of these chronic conditions, many students may end up needing over-the-counter medicines such as pain relievers like acetaminophen or ibuprofen at some point. Providing medications to students is one of the most common health-related activities performed in a school, and this may or may not be done by a school nurse depending on each school's policy. So for preparing the medication, it's a good idea to ask the pharmacist when you pick it up to see if they can fill it into prescription medicine bottles, each with their own label. That way one can be kept at home, one can be kept at the school. It limits the supply that can be brought to the school at any given time, and it keeps the medication in its original labeled container. An adult should always transport and hand off the medication to the correct school personnel. Make sure you read and understand your child's school's policy for students having and administering their own medications at school. And there are usually certain conditions that allow students to self-carry their own medications, so needing immediate access to emergency medicine like inhalers or EpiPens. So make sure your child is taught proper way to dose and administer that if they need it. All prescription and over-the-counter medications given in school need written permission from the child's doctor and parental consent. For field trips, many students can be away from school for educational outings and field trips. It's important to check with the school on the medication policy surrounding these events. Parents can assist in this by discussing with their child's doctor to determine if medication can be given at an alternate time or delayed. If an emergency medication is needed for the child, make sure that the medication is available to the child and can be given when needed. So medicine mistakes happen. They occur. It happens in the school. It happens at home. Can happen at a family member's house. If it happens, don't panic. Parents, nurses, teachers, school staff can call the poison helpline to receive free, fast, confidential information by speaking with us, one of the nurses or pharmacists, at 1-800-222-1222. Thanks.
Great. Awesome. Thanks very much, Jen, for all that great information. If you do hear some banging, which you might have heard from time to time, we are in the middle of a little bit of a construction zone, so I apologize for that. I do also want to mention that there is a question that I want to talk about It says, do they have an MSDS on hand for all chemicals? I know we did in the military. That's a good question. And yes, schools are supposed to have a copy of all the cleaning products as well as other, disinfectants, sanitizers. They're supposed to have an MSDS on hand. So that is definitely something that they should have available to them. Oftentimes when something like this happens, there might be a little bit of a panic situation. It's hard to find. So that is something we can assist with as well. If we know the name of the product, we can help pull that up as well as find the correct information for an exposure. So, all right, so let's move on to a few more things. I just want to share a few of our resources with you. When we talk about our website, it's MissouriPoisonCenter.org, and there's some really great information on there that is educational as well as informational for both teachers and students and parents alike. So let's take a look at a few things. On our website, we have several lesson plans, and we start with preschool age. We have kindergarten through second grade, as well as third and fourth grade and teens. We also have older adults, which is not listed here. And there's at least 3 lessons for each age group. And those are ready to go lessons that you can do for your classroom or like a scout troop or parent night. Those are ready and accessible on different poison related topics based on their age. And so that's in the lesson plan section. We also have a lot of free resources at the Poison Center. We have things like stickers and magnets and posters and brochures that have educational information. So feel free to request and ask for those for your school nurse's office or for your classroom or other location. We'd be happy to send them to you in bulk for your students. You can get those by going to our website and going to the free resources or order resources section across the top. So that's that. And last but not least, we always want to make sure that if something does happen, that you are prepared for it. So it's really important to save that poison helpline in your phone ahead of time. So I would encourage you to do that. Again, the number is 1-800-222-1222. And if you have it ahead of time, then you can reach out to us at any time and reach out to us so we can assist you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I think that's it for us. We appreciate your time. Thanks, Jen, for joining me today, and have a great day.